But our next speaker is Nardo Bonomi, Braverman of Florence, Italy, who's waited very patiently. He's a good friend. He's from Florence, Firenze. He's a veteran genealogist about Italian Jewry, and he knows quite a bit about Italian history, Italian Jewish history, and he's going to talk about the history of the Sephardim in Italy. Go for it, Nardo.
Isaac, I would like to show some my PowerPoint presentation. Can I share?
If it works, I don't know. If you can do it, let's leave Abraham alone.
I'll try.
Okay, because we didn't plan it. See if it works now.
Here it is. Can you see it?
Yep. Okay, go for it.
Okay. Thank you to all you waited so long for my presentation. If the line goes out, it happened during the conference once, but in 1 minute, I can repair the connection. So I will start. Just a moment. This is Italy in the center of the Mediterranean. Italy was important since the Roman times and before, because it's a place of passage between north, south, east, and west, and that is also for Ashkenazi and Sephardic culture. As the date of the discovery of the new continent, 1492, has a special meaning for the Jews because it coincided with the expulsion from Spain. I use the same date to divide the migration and the arrival of the Jewish population in Italy in pre-modern migration and modern migration. Just a moment. I have a problem with the presentation. Yeah. Here it is. Just a moment. Presentation. Can you see it?
No.
I know. Okay, speaking about pre-modern migration, there is one important arrival of Spanish Jews before the Sephardim, that are the immigration from the Iberian Peninsula in the 14th century, following the riots of the violence in Spain. This is not easy to attest from documents because it's quite old. And above all, in many parts of Italy, you can distinguish this first migration with the second and more important migration, which happened in 1492. So in 1492, the Jews were expelled also from the main island of Italy, Sardinia and Sicily. So there was a Spanish arrival on the Italian coast, and also an arrival of Italian Jews from our islands. These are some documents I found on the existence of Spanish Jews before the expulsion. As I told before, is not easy to find documents because generally when you find Spanish in Italy, they are probably of the main largest arrival of the 1492. Here there are some quotation. As you see, in 1449 in Genova arrived one Jews from Toledo in Spain, which converted. And in 1478 is attested a ship of Spanish Jews which arrived in the harbor of Genova. So before the expulsion, probably they felt the atmosphere was heavy in Spain, and they moved to Italy. In Sicily, there are many more documents and news about the arrivals, and you can understand that they are Spanish Jews because they have Spanish family name. So you see in 1499 there is Salomon Spagnolo and many other. Just for give you some example, there are some Catalano, Spagnolo, some from Portogallo, Aragonese, which is from Aragona. So these are emigration from Sicily, from Spain to Sicily before the main expulsion, because there were probably economic connection, economic opportunity, and as I told before, the riots in Spain made the situation dangerous for the Spanish Jews. So these are the pre-modern migration. Modern migration, of course, are the first one is 1492, which means that after that date there are no more Jews in Sardinia and Sicily. So the arrival of the Jews is well attested in Genova and in the Kingdom of Naples. The date of expulsion is of the March of that year, and some ship arrived in the port in the same year. The winter was extremely hard in 1493, and most of the Jews arrived in Genova. They could not land totally. They had to wait special permission, and they were temporarily settled on the dock of the harbor. And some chronicles says that that winter the sea frost, so was very hard for the arrived, and some have converted, some sold the children as slaves, and there are several documents, notarial documents, which testified that they sold all the goods they had in the hand, and even some children. In the Kingdom of Naples, in 1492, Ferdinando d'Aragona invited the Jews in his lands come si fossero nati entro il regno, as if they were born in my kingdom. And so some ships arrived, and they attested the landing of many Spanish Jews in the August of 1492, and in October also the Sicilian arrived in Gaeta, and in 1493 other arrivals from Spain, Sicily, and Sardinia. Among them, of course, there was family Abravanel, and other ships arrived in other places on the coast of the Kingdom of Naples, and was for at least 50 years a place of refuge for the Jews of South Italy. But unfortunately, it didn't start long time the presence there. In Rome, there is a very interesting document of 1506, so just few years after the arrival. There is a meeting of the Jews not local, I mean the Jews from Rome, which have to decide about some taxes and to elect some delegate. Most likely these representative of the Jews are in proportion of the number of the families arrived in Rome. As you see, the foreign Jews, I mean, Jews not from Rome, elected 1725 representatives in proportion of the number. The Ashkenazi and the Sarfati, the Spanish Jews, are just a minority, 17 on about 60. While there were representatives from Aragona, Catalonia, and Castilla. The Aragona Jews were the majority of the Spanish Jews arrived in town.
One question. What
Yes.
about the B'nai Roma, the Jews of Italian origin since the late classical period, the Roman period? So how do they fit in? Obviously, it's good you're portraying that there are many more Sfaradim,
Yeah.
but what proportion of B'nai Roma are there to Sfaradim, let's say in Rome in 1506?
Yes, I have some. Yes, I understand. This is just the proportion between the non-Roman. Yes, probably I have the number of the Roman Jews 20 years later. So in 1527, I think I will speak about later. I think it was still a minority at this date. This to say that in 1541 the Jews were expelled from South Italy, and then most of them went or north in the Papal State or went on the other side of the Adriatic coast and probably on the coast of the Ottoman Empire. So in the Ottoman Empire arrived the first wave in 1482, also with the Sicilian Jews, and the second wave 50 years later with Jews from Apulia, Calabria, and so on. These arrivals are attested in the communities of Salonicco and other places in the Ottoman Empire where many keilots with these Jews were formed in the years later. Among the arrival, there are also the Portuguese, which began to arrive later. And it's important because for the kingdoms and the politicians in Italy, there was not much different at the beginning between the Spanish and the Portuguese, but in few decades they made a strong difference. The arrival of the Portuguese is between the building of the first ghettos in Italy. So you see, the first ghetto is in Venice, 1517. Then the state of the Pope built up two ghettos in Ancona and Roma, and in few years later expelled all the Jews which didn't want to live in the ghettos. So the Spanish who arrived in the coast melted with the Portuguese, and they were closed in the ghettos. At this point, apart Livorno, which has an history by its own, the life of the Jews began to be closed for about 300 years in the ghettos of the Papal State, of Toscana, and of the rest of Italy. The Spanish Jews increased very much in number. In Rome, for instance, there were two communities of Castilian Jews, Universitas Castilliorum Novorum and Universitas Hebreorum Castilliorum Antiquorum. Surprisingly, they preferred to live in the ghetto when the ghetto was built than to move North Italy, because there were probably economic chance or was convenient to live in the Papal States, at least for the first decades. As I showed before, the Sephardim, hello,
Go on.
in 1527 was compiled a sort of census of the population in Rome called Descriptio Urbis. All of the head of the family of Rome are quoted, but not all of them has got a family name, so it's very difficult to understand where they come from. There are about 380 Jewish head of families. Most of the surname quoted are used by Spanish, probably of recent immigration. This because the surname was more tradition in the use of the family names were most attested and stronger in Spain that it was in Italy at that time. Yes, the group kept difference not only and kept a sort of separation in the ghetto, not only between the natives and the Sicilian, but also between themselves, keeping in Rome, for instance, different kailot of origin. At the beginning of the 16th century, there were three different organizations of the Jews in the ghetto: the Aragonese Jews, the Castilian Jews, and the Catalan Jews. This before of the building of the different synagogue. When they arrived, just a few decades after the arrival, they already begin to build kailot, separated kailot. As I said, the Jews from Portugal merged with the existing Jews from Spain in a critical period when the ghettos were established. This forced cohabitation in closer space with Italian and some German Jews gave up to some quarrels and on liturgical, fiscal, and administrative matters, which went on for centuries. So now I'll examine the population, the Spanish population of some town. This is a list of Jews of the ghetto of Genova, so quite late after the arrival. But if you look the names of the Jews in the ghetto, just a moment, as you see, most of the toponymic family names, so the names that you can understand where they come from, most of the family names comes from Spain. La Peña, Salamanca, Olsona, Soria, Villarreal, Castellón. Just few names are not Spanish. I mean, the names which you can understand the origin, because of course a Gabib doesn't tell you the origin of family, but most of the family names which with toponymic origin are Spanish. Just one is not, is Foa, which is comes from a town in Provence. Ercole first d'Este wanted to improve the economy of his state and encouraged the arrival and settlement of the Jews. In 1492, he invited in his dominion the Spanish Jews who landed in Genova and were starving on the dock of the port, as I said before. Around 20 Jewish families moved immediately to Ferrara. And this family probably simply from Spain settled on the dock few days or some months and then went to Ferrara. The grandson of Ercole I continued with his policy of welcoming and the Jews, and he secretly invited the Cristau Novos of Antwerp and other towns of Europe to settle in Ferrara. As a result, the community of Ferrara, here is a list of the Jews, wealthy Jews in 1550. As you see, there are more, all Sephardic. I would say that the most are Portuguese.
All right, but the first comers were Castilian Jews, right? The 20 families, and then the Portuguese came to Ferrara.
Yes. The 20 families are from the dock of Genova. I can't say if they are Castilian or Aragonese, but probably they were. I mean, they were Spanish by sure. Also because the Portuguese arrived generally later than the Spanish.
Because the Portuguese came after the Inquisition began in 1536.
Yes.
That was the big impetus.
1530, and with João II, João, yes, King João. So to be fast, of course, as I showed before, when the ghetto was built, as you see, Livorno has a special history. It's on the coast. It was a place of arrival, but not in 1492 because it was not still a town. It was a small village. And the Medici, for some reason, they built the ghettos in the main town, and they never build a ghetto in Livorno. So Livorno has got its own special history. As you know, the port of Pisa, which is the oldest port of the Roman origin, was filled up by the mud. So the Medici family needed a new port on the coast, and they improved the new town, calling, inviting openly the Jews to settle there. In 1548, Cosimo de' Medici passed a law to ensure protection to Portuguese Jews against the Inquisition, and saying that they will be treated as noble and citizens. In 1575, they began to build a town with famous architect Bontalenti. And then in 1587, he promoted the building of the town and enacted two main laws called the Livornine to invite tradesmen, Jews in the town.
Wait, are you talking about Livorno or Pisa? What are you talking about now?
I'm speaking about Livorno because
okay.
Pisa has a totally another history. It was an old town. To be fast, there is an interesting list of all the head of families of the 17th century, and
Hey, Angel.
I choose only the toponymic family names which led directly and surely to a place. So I took away all the name of the places which are ambiguous, or in some case places are not clearly Spanish, could be Italian. Just the clearest places of origin which are Italian or Spanish. Here is the map of the places attested in family names in Livorno. As you see, many people came from Italy, but Spain is very well attested as family name in the Jewish community of Livorno.
Now, just like you had the Levantine Jews, Spanish Iberian Jews who went to the Ottoman Empire, then came to Italy, like to Venice. So did you have those Levantine Jews who established themselves in Livorno?
For the moment, no. I mean, I will speak about Levantine Jews in the next slide.
Hi.
So this is the map of the origin in Livorno. As I said before, the cohabitation with different Keilot, Italian, Ashkenazi, and Sephardic in the same ghettos on the same place gave problem, gave origin to strong quarrels, and often in places there were more than one synagogue. So here are the number of the synagogues for the town where this K-lot couldn't merge or couldn't decide to live together. As you see, Livorno, there was just one main synagogue, Spanish. In Rome, there were 5 synagogues. In Ancona, there were 2 synagogues, but the second one was not Spanish, it was called Levantina. So in that case, I would say that most of the Jews were not Spanish, but was Mizrahi. Of second generation, the Spanish Jews, which went probably in South Italy or in the Ottoman Empire and then came back in Ancona. Here's a list of the synagogue for the main towns. As you see, Rome has got 5 synagogues. 2 synagogues are Spanish, Sephardic, one called Catalana and one Castigliana. Then there is the Sicilian, formed by Jews arrived from Sicily. In Modena also there were 3 synagogues, Italiana, Ashkenazi, and Spanish. And in Reggio Emilia also there was the same situation with 3 synagogues. In Padova also 3 synagogues. In Ancona, the synagogue Levantina and Italiana. This Levantina were probably from the Mizrahi Jews. In Venice, also 5 synagogues with 1 Spanish synagogue and 2 German synagogue. One is called Tedesca and the other La Scuola Canton. This speaking about the Jewish population who arrived, the Sephardic population who arrived in Italy in at least 2 waves, and how they settled, in which town they settled. If one wants to make a research, these are the places where the community, the Sephardic community were larger. Venice, Livorno, sure. The fact is that the arrival of the Spanish Jews changed very much the culture of the Italian Judaism. Italy has got a very strong Jewish culture, but welcomed in the century many immigrants. Generally, the distance between the cultures, for example, between Italian and Ashkenazi, was tolerated better than the similarity between the Iberian exiles and the Italian. That this similarity became an element of division. That's why the open disputes between the Italians and the Sephardic. There are not similar disputes and quarrels between the Italian and the Ashkenazi Jews, for example. Unlike the Ashkenazi who settled in places where Jews did not reside, the fault, let's say fault, of the Sephardic Jews was that they settled where the Jews settlement already exists. So they really clashed with the Italian inhabitants, Jewish inhabitants of the towns, and especially the Spanish choose the good ports and the good place of residence and trading. So they were competitive also from the economic point of view. At the end, the Sephardic element nearly always prevailed on the Italian. Apart the stronger Italian Jewish community of Rome, for example, where indeed the Italian.
Shut off your.
So apart Rome, where there was a strong Italian tradition, many of the other small Italian community was strongly influenced by the Sephardic culture. Or they built their own synagogue, or they influenced Italian rite. In Florence, for example, where I live, we use a Sephardic minhag because of the vicinity of the Jewish important community of Livorno. So it happened that in origin, our community was not Sephardic, was Italian, but later the influence was so strong that now we have a Spanish custom and minhag. Just to show you, and I finished, in places where the Sephardic didn't arrive, that is the internal the community of internal, let's say Siena. If you trace the origin of the Jews, they are mostly Italian. And in South Tuscany, which is I did recently a study and publication on the Jewish population of central Italy, there are no Spaniards at all. So the Spaniards settled firstly on the coast, and then even if there were ghettos, they prefer to stay in the big town for trade reason and to improve their economy in the north part. Okay, these are the Pitigliano, which is in the center of Tuscany, for instance. All the inhabitants were of Italian origin. This is a study on the composition of the population of Venice. In Venice, there were many Sephardic Jews, some of Spanish origin and some of Portuguese origin. So this is all for the moment. Thank you for listening. And
I have a question.
Not too difficult, please.
There is any influence of the Jewish community in the art?
If there is influence of the Sephardic culture in the art,
Or the Jewish?
Oh, in Jewish art.
I know. Yes.
Art in Florence, it's the same time as Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo. It's almost in the same years.
I thought there is a very, very strong influence of the Jewish thought and philosophy in the Renaissance culture. There are, in the last years, many books have been published. It's a field of research, very interesting, because in the 14th and 15th century, the Tuscan or were very curious about the Jewish philosophy and religion, and we spoke about Abravanel. The family Abravanel is very connected with Florence, and the humanism was very interested to the Jewish culture. This is one of the field of influence of the Jewish culture in or art also. And speaking about the Sephardic influence among the Italian Jews, I spoke about the family names, but also the heraldry is importation of the Spanish Jews in the Italian Jews.
So, well, also obviously the Jews, the Sephardic Jews influenced publishing and printing,
Of
not
course,
just Jewish thought, but that Livorno was a major center together with Salonika. And, from North Africa, all the Jewish rabbis published their works in Livorno.
of course, yes.
Any traces of medieval Byzantine Jewry in Sicily, for example?
Huh. No, I'm thinking about. I know about a interesting connection between Sicily and Jerusalem, but not the opposite. I never studied it. Yes,
Mhm.
in Byzantine period. The rabbi sure.
And one thing, though,
Epigraphic, of course.
right, I have a lot of arguments with Italian scholars on what were the migrations and expulsions. So you pass through it very fastly, but essentially the Jews at differing times, they were expelled from Calabria, Apulia, et cetera, also Provence. But the Italian scholars don't admit the number of expulsions. They talk about 1492, they talk about 1510, and then 1540, and then they forget all the other expulsions. Okay?
Yeah.
But you had much more that went on. Okay, so it's like from the Ottoman Empire, you have a lot of communities forming, and also for example, in the Ionian Islands, in Corfu, you had Sicilian Jews who migrated, let's say in the 14th century, 15th century for sure. So there's all sorts of disputes. Who are these people? And so Italian scholars will say, well, they're Ashkenazim. What do you mean they're Ashkenazim? Okay, so that's the thing. So we have a lot of unanswered questions, but people go, essentially these Jews are going east. That's what we're seeing, whether it's to the Venetian provinces or to the Ottoman Empire. And we only know about the historiography from the Ottoman side and not the Italian side.
In my webpage, I build up a map of all the places where the arrival of Sicilian Jews is attested in the Ottoman Empire. And also, if I don't have the sources in my hand, because most of the sources probably are on place in Istanbul or in Greece. You can trace quite easily because they left Keilot in Istanbul. There was until 1850 a Messina Kevra, and in many other places there were traces of Sicilian customs. I think that most of the arrival are of the 1492. You say that there are also before that.
Yeah. Okay, but in the first decade, you had the Italian Jews, mostly Sicilian and Apulian Jews, going to Western Greece, to Salonika, the Ottoman Empire. Then the Sephardim started communities. So the initial in Istanbul, we don't know who they were and how they organized. So they complemented the Romaniotes, okay, in Istanbul. But in general, in the region, in Arta, for example, Western Greece, Northwestern Greece, the Italian Jews dominated. Only after a few decades were the Romanio Jews the majority and hegemonic, let's say.
Yes, but it's not. It's your field of research.
Yeah, but it's interesting. So who are these people? So Nadia Zeldis researches Sicilian Jewry. especially pre-expulsion. But we don't have a good idea like where they went.
But
And
there are some list of family names. I asked before because if there are some list of family names, maybe we can trace if they are from Sicily or from Puglia or from Calabria or arrivals. But that's a field of your research, because you know those sources in that part. I know Italian sources.
You see, everything. Simonson did a tremendous amount of research.
I know.
Okay, but we can't latch on to a lot of what he did. Okay, so it's sort of problematic. So Sicily is sort of like a gap. Okay, there's a lot of history there, and then what happened? Where's the continuity? Well, we know there were Sicilian synagogues. There was a Minhag Sicilia, and then it all falls by the wayside.
Yes, but in some cases, if with a deeper research, for instance, Nadia Zeldes traced the passage between Sicily and Calabria of some families. I would like to make the same from Sicily, for instance, and Greece. That would be interesting. But right, that's your field of research.
We have stuff to do. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Annette, do you have a question for Nardo?
No.
No? Okay.
No. Interesting presentation, very well done. And I'd like to note that it was about Sephardic Jews in Italy, not as one of the commenters was going on and on about pre-Sephardic Jews. I think that was very clear.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nardo.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your patience.
Thank you to you.
Avram, what do we have now?